Phil Lindeman, Crystal 93 News Director, in the studio today with Leon Joseph Littlebird. Thanks for coming into the studio today, Leon.
Coming to Crystal is like coming home for me. I've spent so many years in this joint, you know?
Well, and that's the truth. I was going to say, you're no stranger to our studio here. You did the snow show for how many years? 11?
11 years, the first 11 years. Yeah, Tom and I did the snow show together. And that's still a legacy. People still tell me, oh, I hear you on the radio. It's like, well, not for the last 3 years you haven't.
Not for a while. Well, and the snow show, tell me about the idea behind that snow show, how you got into doing it on the radio.
Well, they came to me, the managers of Crystal at the time, and wanted me to do a ski instruction show on the radio because I was a professional ski instructor for 35 years. So you can't do that. You can't teach skiing.
It doesn't
on the radio.
translate.
No. You got to have the experience. You got to have a coach. You got to, it's way. So I said no. But what I will do is a show on everything cool that's happening on the snow, and we'll have the resort sponsor it. And it worked. It was, the short story is Fricky and I dreamed it up one night while we were drinking tequila.
The best ideas always come from tequila, right?
and it just happened, and it ran for 14 years or something. So, it was a really cool show. We had a lot of fun doing it. Made a lot of friends too.
Yeah, absolutely. And those sorts of shows are great because it's a local personalities doing local things, skiing out there all the time. And your background when it comes to skiing is deep as well. Some people might not know, especially if they see you around town playing shows and stuff, that you were a professional skier
for 35 years.
35 years, and then longtime ski instructor, teacher. So you were the instructor. You were the teacher teaching the teachers.
Yeah, I instructed. I did training for every major ski school in the Rocky Mountains during my career, and then I spent most of my career teaching at A Basin. And in fact, this coming season, I'll be celebrating my 65th consecutive season at A Basin.
65 consecutive years. You've almost got the Basin beat.
Well, I was only 6 years old when I started, so.
Right. Well, and also, you're also a Summit County native. Local.
Yeah. My family came up here a long time ago, and I spent my youth really going to school down in Denver, but coming up every weekend, and this has always been home, and the mountains will always be home, and I've lived here full time for almost 20 years now, and it was just coming home for me. I could never leave now.
Yeah, that's the truth. Well, it's once it gets its claws in you, for real, yeah, they're stuck.
Yeah, and it was all, I remember the old town of Dillon. I mean, there was no lake there till I was 12 years old. So my memories run really deep here, and my roots run deep here. They didn't pave Main Street Frisco till I was 22. I was already doing gigs in bars, and the street wasn't paved yet. So that's how far back I go.
The world keeps on spinning. Things keep on changing around here. And you're still playing music in Summit
more
County.
than ever. In fact, I actually retired from teaching skiing last year because I just don't have time to devote to it anymore. And I play 5 nights a week in Beaver Creek all winter long. So that means I'm that guy that drives over Vail Pass every night at 11 o'clock. But it's a great gig at Saddle Ridge in Beaver Creek. It's going to be my 9th consecutive season there. And it's 5-star restaurant, decorated in all Frontier artifacts, and
that's at the Ritz, right?
It's no,
that's
called
not
Saddle
Ridge. The mid lodge.
You have to be shuttled up. It's not a place you can just go park and go in, and so it's reservations, and but man, the food is all Colorado-based cuisine, and then they got Colorado-based music, native Colorado music in the joint.
Yeah, absolutely. And now tell us a little bit about your background with music. When did you start playing? And way back when, what were you playing?
My dad was an artist, and played 3 instruments. My dad played piano, fiddle, and mandolin. So I grew up with instruments in my hand from the time I was really little. I was always encouraged to sit down and plink on the piano and to pick up the fiddle and the mandolin. And so, when I was 5 years old and first saw Elvis Presley on TV and saw the effect it had on my 18-year-old sister, I said, man, I tried to make a guitar the next day in my dad's workshop, and so that was it. I was, chicks dig it, I'm doing it, right? And that hit me at 5 years old. So I've really been playing all my life, and I started playing Native American flutes when I was about 4, and tried for years to make good flutes, and then kind of took a hiatus because I couldn't find any good flutes until I was in my 20s, and finally found a real authentic flute maker, and then it just blossomed for me. So
Where was the flute maker?
I actually met him in Crested Butte while I
Okay.
was down there skiing and playing gigs, and it was at an art festival in Crested Butte. His name was Coyote Old Man. And I got this great flute from him. It was all the money I had too. I had made I think it was $90, and it was like I was broke after I bought that flute. And but I still have it, and it's still a great flute, and it started certainly that side of my career.
Very cool. Yeah, like you said, still one that you're playing to this day.
I own 70 of them now.
You've come a long way
The
from
chips
that
are
going
better
broke.
now than they used to be.
A long way from going broke buying that one flute.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to the kind of music you're playing these days, how have you evolved over the years? What have you gone through?
I play 10 instruments. It's people say to me all the time, I've heard you play 6 times and I've never heard you do the same show. It's like, isn't that cool though? I mean, you don't want to see me do the same thing every time, right? And so, I'm a songwriter, and I write a lot of songs about nature in Colorado and history, and just in living, living life and being connected to all of the things that are really truly sacred. And then I do instrumental music where I use loop stations and do guitar and native flute and percussion live, but all at the same time. And so that's got its own flavor. And then 2 years ago, with Carpe Diem String Quartet's principal violinist Chaz Witherby, he and I co-composed an 1 and 6 minute 5-movement concerto for native flute and string quartet, and we've performed it 6 times now across the country. So that kind of lets me call myself a composer, which is a little highbrow for me, but
but just another title to add onto that list.
so
That's
I
great to
do
have,
a lot of stuff, and my passions truly are writing and composing and creating, and then performing is right there too. I really love performing. I'm the opposite of getting butterflies or stage fright. I'm like a racehorse. I can't wait to run. In fact, once we do the sound check in a venue, I just got off tour with Will Clipman, 7-time Grammy nominee Will Clipman. He and I just did a new album together. And in fact, he just submitted it for a Grammy, so we're kind of hopeful that it'll get into the nomination category. And
So you've got a Grammy-nominated album?
no,
out
it's
there,
not
or
nominated yet. It's
not
just
yet.
been submitted. We're
Gotcha.
waiting to hear, and but it's pretty exciting because when you have a product that people think that highly of, so. But he and I did some really world-class stages. Would get set up, and you're working with the best sound people, and it's perfect, everything's pristine, you can't wait, and it's like there's no audience, right? You've just done the sound check. It's like, can we start now? Can we just play?
You're just ready to rock, ready to get out
ready
there,
to
right?
go. Let's let this thing rip, man.
Yeah, when speaking of venues, you like you said, you play Beaver Creek, play plenty of places around here, Dillon Dam, all that. Favorite venues that you've had over the years, whether in Colorado or elsewhere?
Well, my favorite venue is the one I'm playing right at this very moment while you're listening to this show, and that's the Dam Brewery in Dillon. I'm sitting on the patio right now by the magic of radio and playing live. So today's Thursday, the 19th, and from 4 to 6, I'm at the Dillon Dam Brewery for our annual event. Once a year, I play the Dam, and today's the day. So I'll be there from 4 to 6. So if you're listening and it's 4 o'clock now or 5 o'clock, either one, you can still make the gig.
Magic of Radio. Head on over. How did that gig get started?
I
what was the background?
really love all the people that run the Dam. And, everybody over there, there's such good people, and the Dam is such, a favorite of all the locals. And, how can you miss? And so, and they've certainly come to hear me perform, and so they asked me to do it. I felt really honored. I did it last year with X-Man, and I'm doing it again this year solo. So it'll be a lot of fun. But you asked me about my favorite venues. There have been a number. One is the Musical Instrument Museum in Phoenix, Arizona, and that's the guy that performed the week before us was a guy named Lyle Lovett, and then Sean Colvin, and then Tommy Emmanuel, and the list goes on. And there we were on that stage, and we almost sold the thing out. It came close. Oh man, and we sounded, it was Will Clipman and I, and we sounded phenomenal that night, and what an experience just to be on stages where you're playing with that caliber of musician. It takes a while to kind of grasp that you actually, some kid from Summit County is actually on that stage, you know? I mean, in my world, I'm just this goofball that loves to ski and play music, you know? So when you get to sit there for a crowd like that, and then to have the curator of the museum and the theater manager invite you back after the show, you know, those things stick out in your mind like, man, I'll never forget that. You know, that's something I'll always remember.
And like you were saying, you're the sort of person who, being on the stage, that's your natural environment anyway. You just enjoy being up and out there and playing for folks. Here locally, what other venues can people find you? Where can people find you throughout the summer?
You know, I make a stop about once a month at Sauce on the Blue because my buddies Tim and Deb Applegate have a beautiful restaurant there, and they support local music, and there's local musicians playing there every Sunday. So I get my share in there. I get about one a month or so, and then I'm also playing at their new place in Avon, Sauce on the Creek, about the same amount, about a Sunday a month. And that's just fun because it's outdoors and it's all locals. And, you know, I don't do a bunch of gigs around here anymore, but, you know, my favorite, you know, I've played the Dillon Amphitheater in every version it's ever been in. and the Pavilion, we had Len Rhodes and I had the largest crowd the Pavilion's ever seen for a show. And
at Silverthorne, right? Yeah.
In Silverthorne at the Pavilion, and then you know, Warren Station. You know, I've been very fortunate in my career that I've been able to really play all the cool stages, and you know, I just don't do a lot of really kind of small local gigs anymore because of the tours that I'm able to go on and the things I get to do. I stay so busy, and you know, quite frankly, there's a lot of companies that hire me to do corporate gigs, and those things are amazing. After one of my corporate gigs a couple years back, I was driving home thinking, I just made more money than I made in a month of bar gigs, you know, and I played for an hour. So it's really nice to have that uniqueness with the native flute and the native Colorado music. That's what they want.
And it's nice to be able, as a musician, to make money doing what you enjoy doing.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I wake up every day, is it like, really? I get to do this and I'm making money and I just do what I love. And it seems like the more that I focus on it and the more that I do it, the better it gets and the more people are looking for me. I'm fielding questions all the time about performances all over the place, so it's really cool.
Yeah, very cool. And like you were saying, a part of it is the fact that your type of music, you really dig deep into the Colorado, the native history and some of that. Tell us a little bit about your history, your family history and your...
Well, one side of my family were pioneers, you know, and they showed up in Colorado in 1859 when gold was discovered, and we're real prolific in Black Hawk and Central City and Idaho Springs and Georgetown and Silver Plume. And so my grandfather and father were all born here. But my mom's side of the family has some really strong indigenous roots. So they were here 10,000 years before those guys. So, you know, that's why this is always home for me. I'm a complete native on both sides of that story, you know. And the pioneer side, I've got most people beat, but... you know, the other side pretty much plays that out. So, and my passion really has always been history, and I even teach a class at CMC on native Colorado history, and about once or twice a semester the professors have me come over and do a guest lecture, and I do the indigenous history of music, and I do a lot of storytelling professionally around that subject. You know, how did the ancestors come up with music? What were the first instruments? Why did the people sing? What was the inspiration? Why did human beings become musicians? And that fascinated me since I was a little kid. You know, I used to ask all the elders and anyone how it happened. How did humans create music? And so I've learned a lot of really cool indigenous stories about that, and I incorporate that with truly primitive instruments, showing the very first eagle bone whistles and tortoise shell rattles and things, how gourds and how things were made and how, you know, the ancient people used music.
Very good. And are those all part of your personal collection, all those instruments?
Oh yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Great. Where and how did you track down some of these pieces that you have in your collection?
Just over the years, you know, I was fortunate to have a really good education, and And so I got really good at researching when I was young, and just, my fascination for it. And there's this thing called the internet. I don't know if you've ever used it, but
on occasion.
It's kind of scary. And what a wealth of information popped up there. So things really took off then. I could find out all kinds of things and get connected with other people. And that's where it really happened. Is I'd spend a lot of time in Taos, where I have family, and have learned, and a lot of time in the Pueblo, and then just speaking with elders and learning the oral tradition and the stories, and reading a lot. If there's any kids listening, television makes you dumb, but books make you smart. So.
But books also take a little bit more work, which is probably why they lose out to
You
TV.
have to turn the pages.
Yeah, you got to turn that page, and you got to read that rough stuff. You also are heavily involved, though, with local musicians and helping local musicians find their feet, and even in times of trouble, with SMRF. Tell us a little bit about SMRF, the Summit Musician Relief Foundation.
Well, the local musicians
fun?
Helped me.
Yeah.
I was really, really sick, and the doctors gave me a pretty dire prognosis. And this community, catalyzed by the local musicians who are my friends and colleagues, put on benefits and concerts and silent auctions and raised all the money I needed to get myself back on my feet and pay my bills and heal me, actually. My thing is love heals all, and the love I got from this community was definitely what healed me. So from that, I think it was at my last benefit, several of the people who were there, Dewey Paul and Steve Plummer and Tom Fricke, all got together and said, why do we wait till someone's sick? Arnie Green, we did so many benefits for Arnie. We raised a lot of money. We kept him afloat financially, but we couldn't save his life. And so we lost Arnie, and then I was right at the same time on the heels of that, with the same kind of leukemia. Fortunately, I survived. So we have started something called Summit Musicians Relief Fund, and it is now a 501c3 nonprofit. So it's the real deal. And thanks to the efforts of Old Herman, Steve Plummer really put the effort in, and developed a board of directors, and it's a going concern. And next Tuesday, on the 24th, at the Silverthorne Pavilion at 6 o'clock, we'll kick off a benefit concert and silent auction with John Truselli, one of my favorite musicians, opening up. And Split Window, man, what a hot band, a hot local band you got to hear. And so they'll be the headliner for that night. And
yeah, I remember them from the Battle of the Bands that we
they
had
were
back
great.
in March.
They were hot. So it'll be fun. It'll be a great night, and it's all by donation. So show up and plan to party and support SMRF. And there'll be some cool auctions on the silent auction, and. Yeah, so I really want to encourage everybody on the 24th. It's a Tuesday night, so there isn't a lot going on. Yeah. So the Silverthorne Pavilion, Tuesday the 24th at 6 o'clock.
Fantastic. Come on out and support a great cause, the Summit Musicians Relief Fund. And we are going to take some time now to hear a little bit of what you got to play. Tell us what you had in mind to play in the studio today.
Well, actually, there was an event. Since, Phil, it's so cool that you're doing a thing about local music and local musicians. I thought, what would be the best thing I could do? A local song.
Duh. Well, especially when, you got so many of them right here. We got to get, and this song is truly local.
Truly local. This song was written about the landslide that happened on the East Thorn of Silverthorne Mountain on September 10th, 2016. And so it'll be almost 2 years since that slid. And, I think they estimated it at about 40 tons of rock that slid. It was huge. And the debris field they thought was a wildfire because there was so much dust. They thought it was smoke. And I live north of Silverthorne out on the South 40, and my deck, I look right out at that. So I saw the dust from the debris. I didn't see it fall. But then I looked up, and where the rock had exposed, so where the new granite was exposed, it was silver, and it's in the shape of an angel. If you look at it when the light's just right, it looks like an angel. So
I'm gonna have to take a look at that.
You can still see it. It's getting darker. It's 2 years old, and so it's the varnish is starting to come over it. But Yeah, I mean, and if you're a songwriter and you're sitting on your deck and you see that, you pretty much got to write a song about it, right? So it's a song called "The Silver Angel."
Fantastic.
Saw a silver angel in a thorn of stone rising up to heaven, all alone when summer saying goodbye. She rose up from a big rock slide, autumn was painting the countryside to welcome her to her new home. Now she watches over me, inspiring sweet daydreams, giving my soul wings to fly. Ancient stone in a big rock slide opened up the mountainside and set my silver angel free. Spirit of the mountain shines so bright, dancing like a flame in the full moonlight, high above my humble home. Every single day I raise my eyes, see my silver angel take to the sky, telling me we're not alone. And now she watches over me, inspiring sweet daydreams, giving my soul wings to fly. Ancient stone in a big rock slide opened up the mountainside and set my silver angel free. Now she watches over me, inspiring sweet daydreams, giving my soul wings to fly. Ancient stone in a big rock slide opened up the mountainside and set my silver angel free. Saw a silver angel in a thorn of stone rising up to heaven, all alone when summer saying goodbye. When summer was saying goodbye. Saw a silver angel in a thorn of stone rising up to heaven to take me home.
Beautiful, Leon. That was fantastic. And tell us a little bit about the guitar that you were playing. We were just
cool,
talking.
isn't it?
Yeah, the sound is great. It's fantastic. It's a Washburn that you got right down here. Again,
yeah,
local
music
song
from
played.
Gary, man. You know, Gary's he's my favorite guy. Yeah, affordable music. They sell Washburn guitars. He sells Teton guitars. He always has really cool little instruments. But this guy is a spalted maple parlor resonator.
Ooh, say that 5 times fast.
Slot top. Yeah, it's cool as hell, isn't it? And I mean, it looks cool and it sounds cool. So I mean, and so for that song, for all you guitar players, I was drop D capoed to 5, right, on a parlor size resonator. So that's why it has that cool sound.
Yeah, it's got that great sound, that rich sound too. I mean, even though it's a smaller guitar than you would expect.
Small.
Yeah, but it's still got such a great rich sound. But you don't get a chance to play it often when you're out at gigs.
I've used it in the studio on a couple songs because of how cool it sounds. But I can't plug it in. There's no mic on it. So at gigs, you know, I've got such great guitars. I've got Taylors and Martins that are just so phenomenal for performing. Well, I don't know. I would never, not play those guys, you know.
Yeah. So sometimes you got to go with the right tool for the place.
Yeah, you
got to
use the right tool.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
right, yeah.
Great. Well, Leon, thanks again for making time to come in the studio today. It was great to have you in here and playing a little bit, and then throughout the rest of the summer. So we've got the gig at Dillon happening right now. Where else can people find you playing throughout the summer?
Sauce on the Blue. I'll be there this coming Sunday out on the patio. And then just, I've got a Facebook page, and I've got a website, Littlebird Music, and it's all on there. And I've got, I'm just not doing that many live performances this summer. It's been kind of neat. I worked from December through June just playing like 4 or 5 nights a week, and then I was on tour, and in the course of that I did a 16-week Grand Canyon trip where I was the musician, 16 days.
Yeah.
And so I've just kind of wanted to take the summer and relax and write new music, and it's been really, really prolific. So today at the Dam right now I'm playing, and then this Sunday I'll be at Sauce on the Blue.
Great, fantastic. Any of your new songs ready for primetime yet? Have you been playing any of them?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. In fact, Will Clipton and I just went in the studio, and I wrote 6 songs while we were in the studio. And so I've got a bunch of new stuff, and I've just written a new song with Lisa White that just came out really cool. And so may get her to come and sing with me at the Dam today, so we'll see what happens.
Fantastic. Looking forward to all the new and old favorites that we got from you, Leon. Thanks again for coming into the studio.
Hey, Phil, great to see you. Thanks for doing this show. On behalf of myself and all the local musicians, thanks for supporting us, man.
Absolutely. And we are looking forward to more musicians coming into the studio. If you want to be featured in our local music series, go ahead and shoot me an email, phil@crystal93.com, Crystal with a K. Leon Joseph Littlebird in the studio on Crystal 93.